Morning.
Morning.
Say hi to one another if you haven't already. Say hi online as well,
I
please.
do that.
We'll chat, say hello. uh, so today I thought I'd give a talk about busyness, being busy, and I'm calling it the busyness trap, based on an article that I found in 2012 in the New York Times called The Busy Trap. I didn't actually remember that that was the title of it, but it was saved on my hard drive. It has been there for 14 years because apparently I need it. But over the last couple of weeks, we've been exploring time, exploring the ideas of time. We started first by questioning what the heck is a moment, because we say be in the moment, stay in the moment, or just this moment. And it's a little more complicated than it initially seems to be. And then we started talking about being time a little bit. And then I got this kind of question. This wasn't the original plan, but I had an encounter with the two or three people I hadn't seen in a while. And I was checking in with them and I was asking, how are you? And the first words out of their mouths are busy. And I was thinking about how many of our interactions with peers, with friends, start with some sort of declaration of busyness, just like that. And I got curious about that. And then for me, I was thinking about what is the origin story of my experience of busyness anyway. And for me, it goes back to when I was in fourth or fifth grade. My mom and I could not quite validate, but I gave myself a stomach ulcer in elementary school.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine that? Like an 11-year-old kid. And because I was so obsessed with getting perfect grades, being the perfect baseball player, little league, doing all the things so well, I was obsessing over it. And I made myself quite literally sick. And this was much to my parents' chagrin. Imagine they were telling me constantly, he's like, B is okay now and again. Even a C would be welcome at this point. Because they were worried about this child of theirs that was stressing himself out to illness. But I have a very distinct memory of being in fourth grade in Mr. Kistenmacher's class. Can't make that name up. Remember that? We called him Mr. K. And it was back in the days when after a test, the teachers would say, like, how many kids got A's and whatever else and put it on the board, which now as the teacher, I'm going, really bad idea, as an educator for 25 years. But anyway, this happened and I got the best grade on the class on whatever test this was. And Mr. Kistenmacher said something like this. He was trying to celebrate hard work. And he said, one day, Nate's going to be driving a Ferrari because of how hard he works. What will you be driving?
Oh my God.
Right? And he was making a joke out of it with fourth graders. And kids laughed. But I remember that kind of attitude seeping in to everything that I did from that point forward for a very long time anyway. So the orientation was, or the messaging was really clear. It's to the kid with the ulcer, you're saying, good job. This is working. Keep going. It's nuts. And in a certain way, I never cared about a Ferrari per se, but there was something that I recognized in myself that got activated at a very young age that has to tie in with busyness. So I'm really curious. I wonder if you have a sense of if you would describe yourself as a person who's busy, who has a full, dense life. And what's your origin story? If you just think for a moment, can you trace it back to some particular moment in your youth or just a habit that happened? Can you think of when did it start to become that you were really busy? Or what age were you? What was going on in your life? What did you notice? And if you have something that comes to mind, I'd love to hear. If you don't, that's okay too. But anything come to mind? Or Rosemary, what's up for you?
Busyness in terms of the family and needing, always a lot of chores to do as well as homework. But there was something that the nuns used to say, and I can't remember I'm sure somebody will figure out the part. I can't remember what, but it was like not doing things, whatever the word was for that, is the devil's playground.
Idleness.
Idleness. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So that's what I remember. That, like what seeped in for you, that's what seeped in for me.
Yeah. A lot of Catholics in the room too. So yeah. Others? A moment?
Well, I'm certainly a product of this busy, and
I wrote this talk just for us.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it started way, way, way back, just trying to catch up, being at a very competitive school,
Yeah.
having a lot of expectations of me. I know, and it's gotten crazy, and I so appreciate how some things have been taken off my plate.
Yeah.
And then I really noticing, and now I'm trying to simplify other things in my non-automata life, seeing the relief.
That comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael. Susan, you're next.
I pride myself on having a full calendar at work. I tell people how many meetings I go to, and then all the rest of the things that I end up doing. It's not just the meetings, but taking care of things at home, whatever it happens to be. And I can actually trace it back to when I was very, very young and 4 or 5 years old, something like that, where my mother was pregnant and had twins that were unexpected and had to devote all of her attention and energy to them. And what about me?
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I could do was get good grades. And I really, really worked hard and kept myself very busy in order to get her attention, which to me was her love.
Thank you, Michael. And Susan, last word.
Yeah, I can relate to that, but I think around the age of 12, we had an exercise in school to design a license plate for ourselves, I guess, and mine was go, go, go. And I also remember around that age having the idea that I want to be perfect. Like, I'm actually using that word with myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, and all of that was kind of developing over my elementary years and such, for probably lots of reasons.
Yeah, I was coming back to that sort of fourth grade self. I had a sense of, I never felt like I quite fit in. And so doing was a way of both earning a way to fit in, being good at sports, getting good grades, all that. But it was also a way of avoiding that really uncomfortable feeling of feeling like you don't fit, like you don't have a place anywhere.
Joel.
Yeah. Joel.
Hi. Actually, Heather had her hand up before me. Heather, may I defer to her?
Yeah.
Heather, you're muted.
Thank you. We had a lot of type A personalities role modeled in our family, but I remember a particular incident where my mother had undergone chemotherapy that day for breast cancer, and she made a point of facilitating a PTA meeting the same night.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, okay, this is part of what we sacrifice.
Wow. Joel.
Mine actually comes much later. After I was out of school and started working, I was really driven by a sense both of urgency and precariousness in my work life. That because I didn't really have credentials for anything, because I didn't quite fit in where I was working. I was a untrained person among architects. I was a liberal arts graduate among PhD astronomers, and those sorts of situations. I just always felt very precarious, and that although I was making a good living, that that could turn around on a moment's notice, and so that gave a particular emotional quality to busyness as well for me.
Notice how many of our stories are tinged with some sort of response to uncertainty, right? Trying to sort of seek a level of control inside of uncertainty. I was looking for a couple of quotes, and maybe some of you read the book 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman that came out a few years ago. Brilliant book. If you get a chance. But he quotes Alan Watts, who says this: "We raise children to be perpetually getting ready. Nursery school readies you for kindergarten, kindergarten for grade school, and on and on and on. College for the working world." And it says that he calls us, we are donkeys chasing a carrot, dangling off a stick they're strapped to, never here, never arriving, never quite alive. It's like, whew, yikes.
Yeah.
And I was realizing that the strange part is that there's actually nobody dangling the carrot. You're dangling the carrot for yourself. You are the donkey with the carrot strapped in front of you, and somehow you hung that thing for yourself. The journalist whose article on the busy trap that I'm referring to, his name is Tim Creeter, if you want to look it up, it's good. He inspired this talk. He says, most of our busyness is self-imposed. We're not slaves to it, we're volunteers. And we secretly dread giving it up because we're afraid of what we'd feel if we stopped. That's the part that really got me when I read this. And I was early-ish in practice when I was kind of chancing upon this article for the first time. And it really resonated with me. I was aware, I was fresh off of a divorce, and aware I was afraid. And I was working 60 hours, 70 hours, 80 hours a week because I was afraid of what I'd feel if I stopped. I knew it. So we're busy by choice. And now I'm not talking about the person who's got to work 3 jobs to raise their family and put food on the table. That's not the level of busyness I'm talking about. I'm talking about the busyness that comes for most of us that's out of choice. So we are busy by choice. And so this talk is not going to be about telling you to be less busy. We know how that goes. Good luck with that. Don't we? Instead, it's to say, can we have a different relationship with time altogether so that we think about busyness in a different way? So I think I have been Watts's donkey for a really long time. At least since 22, I mean, probably since 4th grade, but 22 professionally. And part of that is because I've spent my life working in education, serving kids in poverty. And that's dangerous because there's a world where you can always kind of punt when you'll stop. You'll say, I'll stop once we get this grant, or once the school is fully blown out, or once this kid gets into college. You make up these fictional endpoints, but there's always another kid, another thing in front of you to do. And no one's going to comment on it saying like, no one walks up to the guy who's wearing himself out serving poor kids to say, stop, right? Because that carrot is kind of painted sacred. We said, this is important work. This is worthy work. And so you justify it and the people around you can readily justify it. I've been reading a little bit of Katagiri Roshi lately. If you're familiar with Each Moment is the Universe is the book that I've been spending a little bit of time on. And this is kind of my take on what he's saying there in this place, at least how I understand it, is part of this is that the strange root of our busyness is that we can't actually feel time as it is. We can't feel the moments, 65 moments in every snap, like Dogen talks about. It moves way faster than our minds can track the process. And so because of that, there's always this gap. We feel like we are outside of time and then subject to it all the time. So that we are a kind of victim of time all the the time. So instead of resting in it, we fill it with all sorts of stuff, tasks that we can do, things that we can occupy ourselves, another task. And really what it is because we feel so uncomfortable in that stillness or silence, in that gap, we don't know what to do, so we just drown ourselves in busyness. We kind of talk about time, I think Doug mentioned this before, we think of time as a river passing by and we're on the bank. That's not quite what it is. In fact, there's a Jorge Luis Borges, the poet and writer, has this great quote. It sounded like it may as well have been Dogen, but it's not. It says, "Time is the substance I am made of. Time is a river which sweeps me along, but I am the river. It is a tiger which destroys me, but I am the tiger. It is a fire which consumes me, but I am the fire." Yeah, one more time, just for good measure. Time is the substance I'm made of. Time is a river which sweeps me along, but I am the river. It is a tiger which destroys me, but I am the tiger. It is a fire which consumes me, but I am the fire. So I am the river. I'm not beside it. You are the water. You are constituted by time. Dogen says it really plainly, and another point, Nuji, among other sentences, they're a lot less plain, but this one is, a pine tree is time, bamboo is time. Think about what that actually, the implication there. That means you are also time, right? So it's not a tree that lasts through time, the tree is time. Time in the shape of a pine tree, in the yard, in the coffee cup, in the traffic. It's time constituting things. So if that's true, if that's really true that we are made of time, then the panic dissolves because you can't fall behind. You can't run out of it. There's no gap to fall into. It's a false understanding. You're never on the bank. You are the water. But before we get too lofty, I want to think about how we hide from this reality. It's so easy to get busy. And busyness isn't just about workaholics, though I'm sure that there are some of us in the room who are recovering workaholics. But there's lots of ways that you can get busy. You can get busy in service, in parenting, in fitness and self-improvement. You can get busy in just fixing yourself. And you can get really busy serving a Zen center. Can't you? There's so many ways that you can get trapped. And we kind of fall into this sense of doing seemingly nourishing things, things that ostensibly are nourishing, but lose their nourishment because of the orientation we take towards them. In his book, In Defense of Food, Michael Pollan says that our great-grandparents would look at the things that we eat right now and not recognize anything as food. He would say they would call it food-like substances, meaning they have taste and flavor but no nutritional value, right? I kind of think that that's the ditch we fall into, is we have things that are seemingly nourishing activities, and they could be nourishing, but our busyness takes the nourishment out of them. So that busyness can be work-shaped. It can be family-shaped. It can be practice-shaped. Photographs beautifully, but it's absent of real nourishment. So what I wonder, this is the second real question, short answers for this one, where do you hide in busyness? What kind of busyness do you preoccupy yourself with now? Michael, what you got?
So about a year ago, I realized that at idle moments throughout the day, I would pick up my smartphone and play a game, crossword puzzle, something to improve my intellect, to improve the person that I was. And when I realized that really what I was doing was just occupying that quiet space between events, I threw away all of my games. And it's taken me a year to find a noble substitute for that, which is that a couple of weeks ago, I realized I was reading a lot of murder mysteries. And whenever I had downtime, I would pick up the book and read it. And it made me wonder whether that was the right thing for me to be reading. And I started alternating that with reading Joko Beck and other works having to do with Zen. But still, they're all part of my busyness.
Thank you for the view. Corey.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes off in life, you kind of feel like, you're like juggling a bunch of plates, and if you stop for even 1 second, they're all going to crash.
Yeah.
And just kind of keeping myself occupied with dumb things like that, like keeping the house as spotless as possible, type of stuff. But the more I think about it, the more it's kind of like an addiction in doing that. It's like addicting to want to keep the plates in the air,
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, ironically, since I'm semi-retired, it's work still.
Yeah. I watched my dad, who was also semi-retired, working as much as I remember him working when he had a full-time job.
I'm not doing that. Thank goodness. But
And I want to be careful here, because this is not a kind of castigating you for doing work, for instance. And Katagiri, as he talks about this, says you can't only live in busyness because you'll go crazy, but you can't also only live in stillness. You die. Like literally, you have to be engaged in activity. So they're not enemies. They belong together in a certain way. Reframe the relationship a little bit. So busy and still are kind of part of one motion. The way he describes it is referencing to Dogen. He goes, they're swimming along the surface of the ocean at the same time, walking along the bottom. You already do this, you just haven't noticed, right? So you're walking along and being along the top as well. So busy and still are one motion, surface and floor at once. And I think he says that you can use your hours instead of being used by them. I think about that maybe a little bit differently, because I think I've been always preoccupied with using my hours in a certain way. Instead, I think about, can we simply be lived by them? Be lived by the hours you have. That feels a little fresher to me.
what does that look like?
Doing what's needed as you see it, responding, just this, wholeheartedly and completely. So it's not that I don't go to work and still prep the workshops I need to lead, but it's just this, doing it fully, completely, and then on to the next thing that's in front of me without the whirl and preoccupation. If I'm retrospective or casting forward, I'm not here, right? So can I just do what's in front of me, one thing at a time? So what Katagiri Roshi describes as replacing busyness is illumination. And we might call that enlightened activity or awakening, or being just fully alive. It's the ordinary stuff, the ordinary moment lit from the inside. So, and what that produces isn't a better, more efficient way of being in the world. If I just do one thing at a time, I'll be more productive than ever. That's not the Zen teaching here. It's not going to make you better at that. Well, in reality, it might, but that's not the point, right? In some ways, there's a lot of neuroscience that says toggling kills our ability to do anything fully and completely, but that's not the point. The point might be that what emerges instead is this deep well of appreciation for this human experience. When we're engaged wholeheartedly, we have the sense of the wildness and the rarity of our connectedness to all things, even as we focus on just the one thing at a time. So from the view of appreciation, we can stop looking back at all the mistakes we've made or pining for something in the future. We're allowed to just be present with what is. And this was hitting me fairly hard this week, because my wife and I took a couple of days off starting this past Thursday through Tuesday, before my son goes back to school. He starts second grade on Wednesday. And we're trying to just get some time with him. And he was in watching his cartoons on Thursday morning. My wife and I were just sitting, drinking coffee. After about an hour of sitting and talking, I was starting to twitch. I wanted to go do something. I started looking around the yard and seeing all the projects. And my wife looks over at me and goes, "Stop it." She goes, "I can see you wanting to go do things. Why don't we just enjoy being here? Enjoy the light coming through the trees right here. Enjoy watching our dogs run around and be crazy people. They're people too. All of that. Just enjoy this." Like, right? Soften a little. So here are a few things that you can do, and none of these are actually going to make it better, but these are occasions to practice. Okay. So the first is sit. If you're not sitting daily, sit, of course. But watch your intention. Are you sitting because it's a thing you're going to do to make you calmer, more disciplined, and to lead a better life? Is it tethered to an outcome on the other side, or are you truly just sitting? Check your intention a little and see, how are you sitting? And I don't mean is it good or bad. What's it like for you to sit right now? And check your intention again about that. And instead of letting your mind, race about and punish yourself for not doing it well enough, or congratulate yourself for doing a much better job this time sitting, can you just sit without it being instrumental? The second thing is very simple. Breathe. Literally interrupt yourself when you catch yourself whirling and say, can I stop and just breathe fully and experience the breath in and out through the body? Notice it. Warm as it comes in, or cool at the tip of your nose as it comes in, warm as it exits. Take one breath and just be wherever you are, especially if it interrupts the busy madness that you might be in. And then the other thing is, we'll spend a little more time on this as we talk about attention next week. Do just one thing at a time only. So rather than, I think about this when I look at my computer screen. How many tabs do I have open? Think about that. How many tabs in your life do you have open while you're ostensibly doing one thing? Can you close or at least minimize the other tabs in your mind's eye for a little while? Just do the thing or in front of you. So 3 things that aren't really things at all. Sit, breathe, one thing. Try it out and see what happens. Katagiri has this lovely image that I've been sitting with a little bit, so I'll end with this. It says, we're like a frog, happy in our small pond. We know every lily pad, we're content here. Until one day a flood comes and carries the frog away. And no one knows when the flood is coming, but we busy ourselves to try and keep ourselves content in our little lily pads. But the frog doesn't survive the flood by swimming harder. It survives by discovering the pond was never separate from the whole world. Always part of something vast. So the invitation here is to remember that you are always connected, always part of something vast in just this moment, right here. You are the work. Doing can just be being. Just be there as fully as you can. Thank you very much. I think we've got a little time for questions or reflections on busyness. What you got? Rosemary.
Just on the last reflection that you had, it sounds like it could be very helpful in the midst of our everyday busyness to remember what you just said about that we're not isolated in what we do. Because I think, for me anyway, the busyness does come with some, some kind of aloneness or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's very, very helpful. The other thing that came to me as you were speaking was something from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Suzuki Roshi, where he talked about activity and the quality of activity. And I forget that all the time, but your talk is reminding me of it, and being fully present, which reminds me of how we work with Soji, which is just being so as fully present as we can be with our instruments and our what we're doing, and the finishing is another trap that I find. Finishing, like, to really release that would be so healing, I think. Thank you very much.
You can be complete with something without being finished with it. It can be
Thank,
complete for now, right?
thank you. Thank you.
Other questions, reflections?
So I'm going to reflect because I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say. I'll just
Those are
reflect a
fun.
little bit on what has been going through my mind is what is the me that is doing? And I think about this in the context of sitting sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like, what is the me I'm bringing to sitting, or what is the draw, to sitting? And I do. So when I am able to recognize that there is just a fundamental draw to sitting, which is not instrumental and is not getting better and stuff like that, that feels the most true to me in some way. And I'm not; these are all sort of vague words, but and I think about that in terms of other, activities. Is what is the? It's not even a part of me. It's the sort of what's the essential self that is doing the thing and bringing the thing.
Yeah.
So those words have been going through my mind. I don't know what I mean by that. So.
Yeah, but there's the fallacy of thinking you're separate, and therefore that changes the way you're relating to all of it. There's Flint has told the story about Blanche seeing Suzuki Roshi and saying, she was quite proud of herself for getting through a whole sit counting to 10. And I did it the whole time. And Suzuki Roshi gets very stern with her and said, "Do not think you do Zazen. Zazen does Zazen." Right? It's the kind of line. It's because in that there's a separation of self from sitting in that space. And it's one of the few times she said that he was ever very firm and stern with her. He was always very gentle, but it was a really important understanding that he wanted to convey. There is no separation here. That's what's coming to mind as you're thinking about this. Last word? Okay.
In offering incense, observing silence, and discussing busyness, we extend compassionate care to and all those who are gravely ill, lacking basic necessities, or suffering violence in the world in thought, word, or deed. May they be serene through all their suffering, and may they, together with all beings, realize the awakened way.
Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way.
Let us be respectfully reminded, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by, and with it our only chance. Each of us must strive to awaken. Be aware. Do not squander our life. Apamana's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Thank you for your support. There is a Dharma box for contributions in the kitchen and also a link for contributions on the website.